Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 53-year-old Colorado man Jeffrey Sabol admitted to the prosecutors he traveled to D.C. with a helmet, a trauma kit, a buck knife, and zip ties. You know, like all tourists do. And a while after entering the restricted grounds, Sabol was seen at the front of the police lines. This was on the West Plaza. Within minutes, Sabol and another man were pushing on the back of January 6 defendant Jonathan Pollock. Pollock was holding a riot shield and he was charging up a flight of steps towards the police. Well, Sabol and this other man helped to propel him forward, helped to propel him into the police with more force by pushing on his back. After that, Sabol continued to push against the police himself, and he was seen slamming into one of the officers' riot shields. So Sabol kept pushing until an officer finally shoved him and caused him to fall down that short flight of steps. So he retreated for a little bit. He came back about 30 minutes later, and he charged at the police line again, and Sabol used both of his hands to push against one of the officers' riot shields. Ultimately, that police line broke, and then the mob chased the officers. The officers, of course, retreated. They tried to form a new line. So the violence ratcheted up, and when Sabol saw two other people trying to take an officer's baton, he reached in. He was trying to help them. So seconds later, he was seen grabbing at another officer's helmet visor. The officer was holding it, and Sabol and another man were seen on video. They were grappling with that officer over the visor. Eventually, the officer gained control over it, and then Sabol made his way to the lower West Terrace tunnel and continued with his acts of violence. So after another member of the mob had knocked an officer to the ground, Sabol grabbed that officer's baton and ripped it out of his hands. And the prosecutor said Sabol used so much force that he actually lifted that grown man, lifted that officer's torso off the ground and dragged him forward a little bit. That's how hard he yanked his baton away. Minutes after that, Sabol rushed to assist two other men who were dragging another officer down a flight of stairs. He was violently assaulted, the officer was. Well, following the Capitol attack, Sabol tried to delete all evidence of his crimes. Not only did he delete all of his communications, he actually microwaved his laptops and his hard drives, and they say he purposely dropped his cell phone into a body of water. Then, Sabol booked a flight to Switzerland. He was going to flee the country. Luckily, he wasn't able to board the flight, so he rented a car. He started driving north. He was in New York, and the police caught him. The police arrested him several days after the Capitol attack, and according to the prosecutor, when the police found him, they said that Sabol was, quote, covered in blood, suffering from severe lacerations to both thighs and arms. While officers aided Sabol, he made several spontaneous statements to include, but not limited to, I am tired, I am done fighting, my wounds are self-inflicted, I was fighting tyranny in D.C., in the D.C. Capitol. I am wanted by the FBI. So Sabol was arrested on January 11th of 2021, and in a third superseding indictment, he was charged with obstructing an official proceeding, 4 counts of assaulting officers, one of which included a dangerous weapon enhancement, 4 counts of civil disorder, robbery in a federal enclave, entering restricted grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, disorderly conduct on restricted grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, physical violence on restricted grounds with a deadly or dangerous weapon, and physical violence on Capitol grounds. In August of 2023, Sabol chose to proceed with a stipulated bench trial. He stipulated to the crimes of obstructing an official proceeding, robbery, and 1 count of assaulting officers with a deadly or dangerous weapon. So the court found him guilty on all 3 counts. So he was looking at up to 20 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines on just 1 count alone. And this time the prosecutor requested a pretty decent sentence. They asked for more than 10 years behind bars. 121 months in prison they asked for, 3 years of probation, and $32,165.65 in restitution. And although Sabol doesn't have a lengthy criminal history and he was never actually sentenced to prison, he has a disturbing history that includes a deferred sentence for child abuse. I don't understand that. There should be a mandatory minimum. When you harm a child, your ass should go to prison. Period. Full stop. So anyway, at his sentencing hearing, Sabol told the judge that he knows he's, quote, 100% guilty. And Sabol said, quote, "I accept whatever it is you hand me. I'll be honest, I deserve it." So U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras presided over Sabol's case, and he called Sabol out for trying to make it sound like he was there to help on January 6th. The judge said, quote, "It's hard to imagine how any of this was helpful." And then Judge Contreras also talked about how he could see another January 6th domestic terrorist attack later this year. He said, quote, "It doesn't take much imagination to imagine a similar call coming out in the coming months." In the end, though, he sentenced Sabol to 63 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and the $32,165.65 in restitution. So similar to what his co-defendants received. And by the way, that $32,000 plus restitution, the majority of that is owed by Sabol and his co-defendants, because more than $30,000 of that is related to medical expenses and also time off for the officers that they injured on January 6th. I should point out, fortunately or unfortunately, Sabol has been in custody since his arrest in January of 2021. So he's already served 3 of his 5 years. So he will be out in a couple more years. Luckily, he'll be behind bars during the next election. You know, now he has felonies on his record for certain. We'll see. I will let you know if I hear any more about him. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.